Hello biscuits! It's Cupcake Kami-sama back here and welcome to another video. And also, happy spooky season! For me, this is the time of the year when I sit back and let my spooky friends have their moment in the spotlight, enjoying all the happiness that my friends are radiating at this time of the year. Me, I'm not so much into Halloween. I could happily ignore it entirely and prefer to indulge in a broader autumnal seasonality instead. Which is why I think my opinion on the subject matter of Halloween prints that are coming out this year from Lolita fashion brands will have the added element of outsider perspective that we all like to have a giggle at. Hopefully it goes without saying that this video is one to be taken with a pinch of salt. My classic/retro sweet self has little interest in spooky things, so of course my already subjective opinion will be skewed even further by that. But this video is not meant to undermine the value of Halloween prints or ruin anyone's enjoyment of the holiday, only to offer some giggles of the look at the uninitiated mistaking one lavender and black concoction with bats and sweets for another lavender and black concoction with bats and sweets waterfall she is variety. For brevity, because we all know that there are more Lolita brands in China that we all have fingers combined, I will be focused solely on Japanese and Western indie brands. I will also focus only on truly new releases from 2023, so any re-releases of previous prints will be ignored. In the spirit of the holiday, I will rank each of these on a scale of 1 to 5 pumpkins, where 1 is pooping on the spoopy parade and 5 is peak spoop. With all of that explained, let's start with the one that I became aware of the earliest, which is Lady Sloth's Spooky Gotchi. I do adore the spoopy illustrations concocted by Antigea, Lady Sloth's chief illustrator for all of their prints. They had me with Halloween Arcade before, and they have me with Spooky Gotchi now. My retro appreciation extends very much into the early days of gaming and the funky toys, and the pixel ghosty is truly adorable. I almost bought this, believe it or not, but two things stopped me. The same two which will now lower my ranking of this print. The limited colorways and the glitter ruffle trim. The black has excellent contrast, but it's not something I wear a lot of. Whereas the blue is such an electric shade that it would be hard to match. That left me no options, even before I noticed the trim, which I just actively dislike. I think the designs would be far better without it. Especially on the zipper JSK, keeping the edges clean could add to the more edgy vibe that the zipper is trying to introduce. So, overall, Spooky Gotchi only gets 3 out of 5 pumpkins from me. For the longest time, I thought that this year's meta Halloween entry was going to come for Baby's Medal for the longest names, in the form of Crystal Tarot Guidance from the Star series. However, more recently announced their actual Halloween release, Sweet Spooky Night. It's a lot cuter and has less of Crystal Tarot's broad appeal, but it makes up for that by really ramping up the Halloween vibes. The all-over print is quite small, which on the one hand helps if you want to keep your styling options open, but on the other, it's a shame how up close you have to get to make out those little ghost friends on it. They are a little bit clip arty, but I quite like that. They have plenty of charm. The orange colorway looks very candy corn to me, which is balanced out by the more toned down black colorway. I do like the cut and the bat-shaped neckline on the circular GSK cut. Baby doll cuts aren't my thing, and I'm not fond of the gigantic boob bow. It hurts a little to say this, but whilst this is nice, I'm not that much into it. I was way more of a fan of the Crystal Tarot series. I think this is a bit underwhelming and way too similar to some of the things that non-Lolita clothing companies do for Halloween. So where's the incentive of getting Sweet Spooky Night other than the brand label? I'm sorry, Meta, but I'm only gonna give you 3 pumpkins out of 5. I'm really nonplussed by this. Then let us go to Me Likes Tea, the brand we know predominantly for their petticoats, but who have expanded into clothing recently. They came out this Halloween with a printed release called Ghost Witch Coven, in what appears to be 3 colorways and 2 JSK cuts? I can't quite tell if the halter neck one is indeed a halter neck, or if it's just styled that way to show that the straps are adjustable and could indeed be fashioned into a halter neck. And again, this could be the styling of the stock photos, but this dress gives me much more casual vibes. Nothing wrong with that. People can prefer to be casual and it's good to have options. It's a nice change of pace, is what I'm saying. But because of that, this dress is giving me less of a Lolita vibe and more of a broader general J fashion one that can lean into vintage reproduction or just cute feminine daywear. Which again, nothing wrong with that. A versatile dress is great to have during any sort of a holiday season. The print itself is cute, alright. Nothing super special, but nothing glaringly wrong with it either. The word nice sums up my feelings towards this release overall very well. I can see plenty of people wearing it, enjoying it, and styling it in lots of different ways, but for me it's neither a yay nor an A. It's just nice. So I'll err on the generous side and give it 3.5 pumpkins. The more invested I got in this video, the more brands with Halloween releases I noticed, and next was Royal Princess Alice, who actually has 2 on offer. Halloween Cat and their collaboration with Spin called Sweets Halloween. Although both hit quite a similar tone, so I'll talk about them both simultaneously. We have stripy backgrounds, very classic Halloween, lots of purple, back collar OP with aprons or JSKs with corset detailing and aprons, and all over print, and cats. The biggest difference is that Sweet's Halloween's print layout is more evenly distributed, while Halloween Cat's is vertical, following the stripes as opposed to being on top of them. And arguably Halloween Cat is a little bit cuter in the sense that Sweet's Halloween print design has a few more creepy elements added to the cute, like the teddy bears, whereas Halloween Cat sticks to the cute with just a couple of graveyard elements. I can't say that either wow me in any particular way, and the fact that they are so similar to one another adds a lot to that sentiment. Had they been a year apart, I wouldn't have minded, but they were literally announced within days of one another. No doubt this is helpful for the brand in terms of cutting costs and keeping things reasonable from the production side of things, but it does devalue what is otherwise an okay release. I feel bad pooping on RPA's parade, but 3 pumpkins feels a bit too generous. The most I can do is 2.5 pumpkins out of 5. Sorry, Royal Princess Alice, you keep killing it in other ways. By the way, if you're enjoying me giving my thoughts on dresses that I have no interest in buying, then you could let me know by giving this video a thumbs up. Then maybe I can do more videos with my thoughts on dresses that I have no interest in buying in the future. And YouTube will then remember that you like that and will show you more things like it. We won't know until the likes come in, right? Up next is Baby's surprisingly short, but unsurprisingly French name print, Soirée au Chat Noir. When I think of a fun Halloween, this is what I think of. It's blatantly tacky in how colourful it is, but somehow they had the audacity to make each of these bonkers colour combinations work. Like, there genuinely isn't one that's bad, they're all good bad. And I think I actually unironically like the ivory with that green going on there. That one reminds me of another Halloween print from Baby, or maybe it was Alice and the Pirates that also had these colours, but I think it was more ghosts trick-or-treating, but don't ask me what it was called because like heck would I even bother to remember, plus I think it really did have a sentence for a name, so I think I'd been actually confusing two different prints and merged them into one in my head. After looking at the library, I think I confused Baby's Enchanted Under the Candy Magic Spell print with Alice and the Pirates' Guilty Melting Sweets Town. But this one has black cats with not a single brain cell flying between their ears, just pumpkins and vibes, and I love the multicolored pumpkins they are sitting amongst. Honestly, each time I look at this print, I find something new that makes me go, aww. It's bonkers and cute and the embodiment of Halloween. Immediate 5 out of 5 pumpkins, and maybe with some extra sweets on top of that, because how could you say no to those cute little faces? However, vying for Baby's long name crown is a US-based indie brand called Sleepyland, with a release called Starlit Apothecary, Enchanted Perfumes and Love Potions. And boy, I remember the stir this caused when the pre-order was first teased, because this is everything that sweet Lolitas want from Angelic Pretty that they haven't been getting that much of recently. Inclusive size, detailed cut, a very adorable print in gorgeous pastel shades, all the vibes are there. Obviously, as we've already established, the release gets a thumbs up from me for including a black kitty, but I am also partial to perfume motifs. The whole Kawaii Maho Shoujo apothecary theme is generally one that I like a lot, even if this isn't necessarily something that I'd buy for myself. But the border print is beautifully proportioned in relation to the whole dress, and all of the trims really add plenty of charm. I do wish that the print had similar amounts of contrast in the pink and lavender colorways as it does in the black. However, that is quite a common thing with sweet pastel prints, so I won't judge Starlit Apothecary too harshly for that. Everything that I'm seeing looks really top quality, very much the sort of level that I expect Japanese brands to be at. It's a yardstick that I don't typically measure indie brands against because they have challenges of their own, but props to Sleepyland for reaching that level. And of course, the release gets 5 pumpkins out of 5 from me. I will move on to Axis Fam Kawaii now, who have really surprised me with their offering. Side note, we're all sleeping on Axis Fam Kawaii. They are coming out with some great prints and great releases at very affordable prices. Halloween Night, as this release is called, is no exception. It is simple, but with a bunch of bunnies, bears, pumpkins and ghosts, mostly standing along the border print, but to put it simply, it is just very fun. There's nothing wrong with something uncomplicated, and the overall design manages to be that without feeling empty or weirdly proportioned. That particular shade of orange, which on my screen looks more like a deeper golden yellow, is particularly cute. And the print pops nicely against all 3 colorways. I guess if I had to pick at anything, then I wish that all the characters on the print were doing something. A bit of movement would add some story to the scene, which right now is just a collection of pretty images. But that is a minor gripe. So I give Axis Fam Kawaii a very solid 4.5 pumpkins. One brand that I know of but don't follow much, and then I'm surprised to see, is Duchess Manda. Had their post in the Lolita Updates Facebook page not flashed through my feed, I would have been completely oblivious to their Halloween release, which was just announced as a spider dress. And to be perfectly clear, I am a little torn on this. I do like the ecru colorway. That is incredibly elegant, and the brown tones of the print please me. I'm also a fan of the OP cut. That looks both classy and comfy, and for an OP, I can see it be coded in plenty of different ways. It's also an interesting choice to offer a different print across the JSK bodice. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but I guess neutral if anything. However, whilst I know that they're a common Halloween motif, I am not keen on spiders, just generally. Each of the illustrations inside the fancy frames just creeps me out, and it does not appeal to my aesthetic sense at all. This release is much closer to the sort of Halloween that I've been actively put off of for years. the cuter side is the only one that I vibe with. I can very much see how this would appeal to the goths who don't want to engage with the cuter side, and that's great for them. On a technical level, as far as execution goes, Duchess Manda's spider is done very well. But on a subjective one, I am really struggling with this. Not wanting to be mean to an indie brand, I'll cling on to the accrue version, which creeps me out significantly less, and give this release a 1.5 pumpkin out of 5. After this kind of a score, let's switch up moods and look at Spooky Sparkle Party's Oshiri Pop Shop. When your brand is called Spooky Sparkle Party, the expectations on you to deliver something good for Halloween are up here. And I must say, I think they made it happen. It's a little hard to say because what's on their social media is still the drawings of what the dresses will look like, though I actually first spotted this release by following @TashaBSpooky on Instagram, who grabbed one of these from the brand's runway at one of the cons. Whilst the bony ribcage design across the bodice to me doesn't quite gel with the sweets overload print of ice cream, gumballs, soda bottles, ice cream floats and banana splits, I appreciate that at least all these bones are covered in icing and sprinkles, and the fact that the JSK straps are also bone designs is kind of cute on its own, even if to me as a design choice the bodice and the skirt feel more like separate things than one. But I genuinely adore the border print itself. It's so colourful and bright, like all the sweets that you expect to get on Halloween, i.e. a bit too colourful and bright to be truly natural colourings, but it just looks so much more fun that way. And the illustration draws you in to notice the layers to it. The spooky elements aren't all obvious at first glance, and the more I look, the more I notice, which is always something that I appreciate about print. That spooky soda bottle might actually be my favourite. Ossuary Pop Shop is such an incredibly fun print that it makes me smile. So even despite my not being fond of that ribcage design, I give it 4 out of 5 pumpkins. And lastly, to finish on the one brand whose Halloween releases everyone is always waiting for with bated breath, we have Angelic Pretty with Magical Milk Cats. It's nice to see that AP has listened and added fallback sharing on the JSK. It's been way too long and even that feels like the bare minimum. It's easy to capture my heart by using black cats on the print because I am biased, and those are some grade A mischievous dumbasses playing around in that witch's alchemy workshop. Lord only knows why milk had to be involved since only one of the cats is white. But it's AP, who knows why anything in their world is milky to begin with. The ghost kitties in the background are adorable, though I wish that they popped equally on all colorways. Right now, the black one steals the spotlight in terms of looking the most complete / the least empty at first glance. But as much as I may want to hate on AP out of principle, they did people a solid with Magical Milk Cats. Anything that I find that I dislike is nitpicking, so I give them a reluctant 5 out of 5 pumpkins. And that is all the Halloween print releases that I could find to talk about. And gosh, that was a lot more than I had anticipated when I set out to do this video, and I wouldn't be surprised if I still managed to miss some. Hopefully you enjoyed my takes, even if you disagree with my ratings. If you are a lover of Halloween prints, let me know which of these caught your eye the most. And if you're not into Halloween prints like me, then you could instead tell me your favourite way to fake dressing spooky and or spoopy without owning anything explicitly Halloweeny. As always, these videos go up 1 week early for my supporters on Patreon on the $2 a month tier and above. And you can also leave one-off tips using Ko-fi. Both links are below, as are details for my blog, which is Cupcakes and Unicorns, where I share even more Lolita fashion related content. Thank you all so much for watching, have a happy Halloween, and I'll see you in my next video. Take care, bye!